So, Mindvalley, you're in for a special treat today. Our trainer for this masterclass is one of the most incredible personalities I've ever seen on camera or on stage. I've been working with her, being mentored by her, being coached by her for 7 years. She's helped me become a better speaker, become a better orator. She's helped me, in a way, become the teacher I am today. Because she is someone I place at the pinnacle of her craft. Now, you all know Lisa Nichols, but what you may not know is what exactly Lisa Nichols has been able to accomplish in her lifetime. Despite her circumstances, Lisa was once a single mom. If you've heard a story, you know about how a mere 20 years ago, she barely could afford to buy diapers for her newborn baby, Jelani. She had $11 to her name. Yet today, every May 9th, the city of Houston celebrates Lisa Nichols Day. Yet today, Lisa Nichols is one of only 2 African-American women founders of public listed companies in America. Today, Lisa Nichols is the author of 7 best-selling books. Today, Lisa Nichols companies have touched the lives of 211,000 teenagers and helped prevent close to 4,000 teen suicides. She has received a humanitarian award from South Africa. Houston, Texas celebrates Lisa Nichols Day every year on May 9th. And Jack Canfield has said, after listening to her, I felt like I was listening to the next Martin Luther King Jr. So I know this woman is going to touch your lives in this next 1 hour together like she's touched the lives of countless millions of people. Yet in the last year alone, Lisa Nichols has touched the lives of, get this, 20 million people through all her media exposure globally. That is how impactful and powerful this woman is. But you go back to where she came from. It is incredible to see how a broke single mom with $11 to her name could come this far in a mere 19 years. So let's give a big frickin' round of applause to the one and only Lisa Nichols.
Come on.
Welcome, Lisa.
Hey, welcome. Come on. Join me.
She also knows how to dance.
Join me. Come on. Hey, you guys.
Welcome, Lisa.
Thank you so much. Hi, everybody. Hi, everyone.
By the way, Lisa also does a badass Bruno Mars impersonation.
Bruno, whenever you need a stand-in, I'm just saying, I'm ready. Do you want me to talk to that camera with you or just?
You can talk to any camera you want,
great,
Lisa.
Great.
Pick a camera.
I'm just saying, you know, in addition to speaking, I kind of do a great, just lip sync. I can't hold a note if you strapped it to my back, but I can dance and do a great lip sync.
So before we start, can I just share a really funny story about
Yes,
you?
please.
Okay, so way back in 2010, I wanted to start this thing called A-Fest, right? Except that most people had no idea who I was. I didn't know any big speakers, and I happened to be I happened to have a small spot at a conference in, I think it was Calgary,
yes.
Canada. It was
Canada.
It was 2010, and Lisa was one of the keynotes. So at the end of your keynote, I remember Lisa had this big VIP reception, and hundreds of people were coming to meet Lisa. And I managed to go up to Lisa, and because I was a speaker, a smaller time speaker, but I asked her if she would join me for lunch. And so me and Lisa went up for lunch, and I said, Lisa,
and I gotta say, he had this genuineness about him, and he had a passion, and he just stood out. You just stood out amongst everyone.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. So I told Lisa, what is it going to take to get you to come and speak at my event? And she said, Vishen, you know, I'm booked. I'm basically speaking almost every weekend for the next 1 year. I'm traveling all across the world, and I need time for myself as well, so I just don't know. I only have, do you know, and then she said something along the lines of, I only have 1 weekend free this year. So I turned to her and I'm like, well, what weekend is that? And she goes, you serious? And I go, yeah, what weekend is that? And she goes, she opens a calendar and she goes, it's December 11th. That's the only weekend I have free. And I had no date for A-Fest at that time. I didn't even know I was going to be able to pull it off. So I go, well, you know, Lisa, what a coincidence. That's the date we picked for A-Fest.
And I didn't even see it coming. I didn't, like, when I look back on it, I go, that was masterful. He hoodwinked me. He bamboozled me. I'm in. He goes, that's the one weekend that's the weekend. Can you do it? And I was like, Okay.
And so December 11 became the first ever A-Fest. December 11, 2010 in Costa Rica, Lisa Nichols came. And then I went to other speakers and I'm like, guys, I'm doing this event in Costa Rica. Lisa Nichols had only one weekend free and she chose to speak at Costa Rica at A-Fest. And then I got Chip Conley, the hotelier. I got Sri Kumar Rao, the
You had a
MBA
great
professor.
lineup.
I got all of these other speakers to come and A-Fest was born. Thank you for having December 11 free
You're
in 2010.
welcome. It was, when I look back on it, it was one of the best decisions. I believe that there are no accidents, there are divine appointments when something like that happens. Synergies come together and magical things happen. It's been years and years later. I've watched you have 2 children. You've watched my son grow up. You watched my career explode to the next level. I watched A-Fest become one of the most in demand talked about events globally. So it was a good December 11th.
And you know what happened from that? Lisa has since spoken at every single A-Fest. She has not missed one. That's 12 A-Fests in something like 9 different countries over the last 7 years. She's not missed one. And because she's such a masterful speaker, in half of those, I invited her to close the event with her brilliance.
Yes.
And today, you're going to get a glimpse of that brilliance. You're going to learn the secret sauce that makes Lisa such an insanely powerful woman, that gives her the fuel to touch the world in such remarkable ways, from saving teenage lives to setting up a public company to writing best-selling books. But guys, all of it, if you have to pinpoint Lisa's core skill, it's the ability to move people with a story, to make an audience fall madly in love with her. And this is what we're going to be going deep into in this masterclass. You're going to go behind the black curtain. You're going to learn what Lisa does, and you're going to gain some skills that you can instantly apply in your life.
Yes. What I love about what we're about to do together is that while it's my gift, it can be anyone's skill set. And as a gift, I had to even hone the skill and become conscious. You've done so many things unconsciously on stage that the moment I brought it from your unconscious to your conscious, you just became more intentional about it. So what I love about this is that some of these techniques as a communicator, you may already be doing, some may be totally new to you. But when you bring it from your unconscious to your conscious, now you get to use your powers, use your superpowers with intention. So I'm excited about this.
And what's masterful about Lisa is that she's consciously competent. Look, I'm sure if you go back and you ask Martin Luther King or John F. Kennedy, what made you such a great orator? They probably can't articulate it in terms of a framework. They are amazing speakers. That's called unconscious competence. Now, what's unique about Lisa is she's consciously competent. She's a great speaker, but she can break it down into a 30-step framework. And she can teach that framework, and she can create other great speakers. How many world-class speakers have you trained thus far?
Wow. We're probably well over 420 at the world-class level. We've up-leveled several thousand speakers that would rate themselves at a 2 or 3 when they came into on our campus. And by the time we finished training them, whether it was virtually or live, they then ranked themselves at an 8 or 9. Or more importantly, their audiences were rating them at a 2.
And they're getting speaking gigs, and they're getting books published, and they're
building
changing,
6-figure careers.
Right, and they're transforming their companies.
And their families.
Right, and what's unique about Lisa is she's one of the highest paid trainers in the world for creating speakers. Doctors, lawyers, entrepreneurs go to her.
Stop it.
Wait, I gotta share this. They join her global leadership program. I think the fee for that is $47,000 a year.
It's a PhD level entrepreneurship course for people who want to elevate their brand on every modality. And we know that the core of that is owning and harnessing and using your message. And so we're in our 7th cycle of global leaders. So we've run a number of people through the program. We have graduates, multiple graduates have been with us for 6-7 years. And it's an investment. It's almost $50,000, and we know the ROI. We know what we deliver. We're very comfortable.
Right, and some of these people have gone on and they've tripled or quadrupled their multi-million-dollar businesses.
We have a couple of people with 10x.
Because of the power of their voice.
We have a few people who have 10x literally 10x their income
Right.
in the last 5. And it's taken them 5 years, but I'll take 5 years to 10x my income. Then everyone else on average, they're between 3x and 5x over the course of 2 years.
And that's what makes this woman unique. So one of our missions here at Mindvalley is to produce, in every category we go to, the world's greatest singular program in that category. If we go in weight loss, it's going to be the world's greatest weight loss program. If we go in public speaking, it's going to be the world's greatest public speaking program. And when I was trying to identify, over the last couple of years, the singular greatest teacher of public speaking, I believe it's this woman. The singular greatest teacher of public speaking on the planet. And which is why
I don't take that lightly.
I am so honored to be working with Lisa Nichols to produce Mindvalley's quest on public speaking. And in this masterclass, you're going to learn over the next 45 minutes or so some really powerful insights that you will directly be able to apply in your life. Now, whether you're trying to close your next investment round, or ask your boss for a raise, or have an idea you have heard within your company, or have a conversation in a bar with someone you want to meet. This is not just public speaking. Our ability to communicate influences every aspect of our life. And when you learn to bring conscious competence to that, you change as a human being.
Absolutely. You learn, communication, consider communication to be a flat experience. It's just words. When you learn the techniques that we're going to show you, all of a sudden you add texture to it. And that's the excitement, is that you can say the exact same thing as the next guy, but it's the texture you put on it that increases your USP, your unique serving proposition.
So many of you, either before discovering this masterclass or in the past couple of months, may have seen this 3-minute clip about Lisa. So the story is, Lisa was invited to the Steve Harvey show. And there's a particular point in that show, and I think in Steve Harvey, you spoke for about 20 minutes, right?
I did. I gave a lot of content for 20 minutes.
A 3.5-minute slice that went viral on Facebook.
Yes.
23 million people watched it on Facebook.
There was one line. This guy posted it out of Africa. He lived in New York, and he posted one line. He said, "Someone needs to hear this today."
Right.
And it went everywhere. 3.5 minutes of it.
I'm going to play a minute or two of this so you guys can observe Lisa, right? Now, keep in mind, this was 2014.
There's been a transformation since then.
Lisa is getting younger every year, so you may not recognize her based on who she is today from this clip in 2014.
That's me.
But observe how she's articulating her story. And remember, this got reshared 23 million times on Facebook. Let's roll that clip.
I was at rock bottom. I was broke and I was broken. I got fired from 5 different jobs. And then I got pregnant with my son unexpectedly. And then at 8 months, my son's father went to prison. And when my son was 8 months old, I went to the ATM to get $20 out the bank because I didn't have any Pampers for him. And in order to get $20 out, you got that $20 in. I had $11.42. And I still can't tell the story without getting emotional because it's my story. For 2 days, I had to wrap my son in a towel. But something happened, Steve, in those 2 days. My son laying on his back at 8 months, I have a towel over him, and I have my hand on his stomach saying, "Don't you worry, Jaylani. Mommy will never be this broke again." And I made a decision. I was bankrupt. In every stinking thinking I had, I was bankrupt in trying to protect my pride. I was bankrupt in trying to be all that in a bag of chips and a bowl of grits falsified. I was bankrupt in trying to not ask anyone for help. I was bankrupt in everything that was holding me and keeping me where I was. I've always talked a good game, but I wasn't doing anything with my gift. And all that thing about potential, I was tired of having potential. I wanted to have my now. And I looked at that baby at 8 months and I said, I want to transform your life. Because you didn't ask to come into this chaos. As an African-American male child in South Central Los Angeles, with a single mother whose father's in prison, he had a 66% chance of going to prison himself. Not on my watch. Not on my watch. So if I have to be willing to drastically transform myself so that I can become the woman that I know I can be. Right. And that's what I began to do. I was radical. See, my grandmother said that conviction and comfort don't live in the same block. If you're gonna be convicted about something, you might have to go through some discomfort. But if you wanna stay comfortable, why don't you just relax where you are, because that's where you're gonna stay.
Right.
And so are you willing to reinvent who you are? Are you willing to kill away the procrastination? Are you willing to kill away the excuses, the blame game? I never let people call me a single mom by my title. I'm Lisa Nichols, who happens to be a single mother. Don't define me by my circumstances. Define me by my intention. At some point, I have to stop asking, can I be great? Can I be brilliant? Can I be okay and still be accepted? I just stopped asking permission and just gave notice unapologetically, not in a braggadocious way, not in a way that shrunk anyone else, in a way that said, I only got one life, and I'm gonna ride this one till the wheels fall off. And that was the beginning of me rescuing myself. I realized that I am my rescue. No one else is my rescue. I am my rescue.
Lisa, that was amazing. Now, tell us a little bit about what was going on there.
Right. What's fascinating is that I gave 20 minutes of content, but people attach not so much to your education or the intellectual exchange. They respect that, and they appreciate that, and they take notes. What they connect to like glue is your story. Because when you give hope, there's this thing about hope. When you give hope, and it's not hope to the hopeless, it's hope to people, possibility to people. All of a sudden, this connection. I got hundreds and thousands of emails. People would find me in the grocery store or the cleaners or at the beach, and they'd say, oh my God, you're the lady with the Pampers. You're the $11.42 lady. I mean, they would get excited. And many people got excited and they didn't have that story at all. What it did for them is it tapped them into their resiliency. It tapped them into their determination. It tapped them into their why, the why that they get up for, the why that they had forgotten. That story superseded everything else that I could have shared on Steve Harvey. After that, I began to work with Steve Harvey. I began to work with his team. I began to work with other, high-level teams, because people may not even know exactly all that you know. They see your track record, but in your story, they know who you are. They know what you stand for. And what happened there, Vishen, was America met what I stood for. And when they met what I stood for, through what used to be the most embarrassing story of my life, I never thought, ever, I'm gonna share when I was broken. I'm gonna share when I couldn't put Pampers. As a parent, you're a parent. As a parent, all you wanna do is give your children safety. You wanna give them shelter. You wanna give them food. And you wanna give them inspiration to be good human beings. I couldn't feed my son nor put Pampers on him. So I didn't wanna necessarily share this story. But I knew that if I was going to inspire people to get back up again, I first had to share with them when I was knocked down. And that's the only reason why I shared it. I didn't share the story to go viral. I had no idea it would go viral. As a matter of fact, when I went back to the green room, I was sitting in the green room like, oh man, there you go again, sharing those stories, sharing a deep story, knowing how powerful it could be. But knowing how powerful it could be, it doesn't change the fact that you get a little nervous. It doesn't change the fact that you're giving up something. And that day I gave up something, and I went back to the green room, braced myself for a moment, calmed myself down, because I realized I'd served up something to America. And then all of a sudden the wave came in. I call it the tsunami wave. And there was the wave of, we love you, we appreciate you, we choose you, oh my God. But it was the same thing that happened in The Secret. So you talk about having this conscious competence, and I have the pleasure of studying Dr. Martin Luther King and studying Kennedy and studying Nelson Mandela. So I looked at the pattern of what were they doing. They were always taking you into their lives through a story, inspiring you, then sharing with you, inspiring you, then giving you a story, inspiring. They follow this formula. If you study great orators, they have a formula. I don't think they were conscious about their formula, but they have a formula. I studied ministers, and ministers would go so far, and then they take you into a story, and you just see the backs of everyone listening straighten up. So when I was in The Secret, I was sharing, and then I went into a story. And then The Secret was The Secret Tsunami as well, that I was one of the most requested speakers in The Secret. And I kept going, how? The people in The Secret are the most brilliant people on the planet. And while they got a lot of accolades, my life transformed. But people kept saying, I can connect to your story. I connected to your story. And so the same thing in The Secret, the same thing on Oprah, the same thing on Steve Harvey. Like, I think the smartest thing we can do is recognize patterns and then become conscious about the pattern.
So let's unwrap that.
Yes.
And let's share with you guys the patterns that you can emulate right now.
So I'm super, super excited to share this with you because this is taking you behind the black curtain. I'm gonna fire off. I was gonna sound like I'm talking fast because I am. I'm gonna fire off as much as I can to you in around 40, 45 minutes. And there's much more, but this at least will get you started. Matter of fact, it will, just applying what I'm gonna share you here alone will elevate you above probably anyone else that's speaking on a stage next to you or at a classroom or at a board meeting, wherever you might be. It'll elevate you. And I'm not saying that from a place of competition. I'm saying that from a place of USP, unique serving proposition, being very visual for the world to see. Stories. Stories are powerful. Stories allow your listener, your audience of one or audience of 1,000, it allows them to see you. Think of it like this. When you're taking someone on an intellectual journey and you want to get them from A to Z, look at it as if you're building a building. And all the bricks in the building, that's the content, that's the education, that's what the people need to know to get them to the goal, right? Well, think of the story as a cement in between the bricks that sticks the bricks together. Cement, that's your story. Your stories stick everything else together. It makes everything else matter. The story is what allows the listener to have context, to have flavor, to have texture to your content. So do you need the story to make the content valid? Not at all. But you need the story to become one of the most memorable speakers out there. Or you need the story to become unforgettable. You need the story to allow your audience to fall madly in love with you. Now, to tell a great story, you need to have several things occurring. One, you need to take your audience to a time and a place. Be specific in a time and a place. 1994 and 1997 and 2010. Take them to a time and place and then paint the picture of where they are, what's happening. Think of it as a movie. When you go to watch a movie, the first 10 seconds of a movie, they show you the time of year. Is it spring? Is it summer? Is it winter? They show you where in the world are you. Are you in Slovenia? Are you in Norway? Are you in New York? Are you in Los Angeles? Are you in Hollywood? They let you know where you are the first 10 seconds. So when you're telling a story, bring me into the story and let me know where you are. Why? Because when you give me a picture into your life, I give you a part of me. So your story requires you to get out of your intellect and into an experience. And when you want a story to really land and have impact, let me fall in love with the characters in the story. So give me a little bit about them. When I talk about my grandmother, if you've ever seen me on YouTube and you hear me talk about my grandma, I always change my voice. Grandma says, baby, if you want to have power in life, you got to be willing to go deep. I change my tone and I introduce you to the character. I let you know their style. I let you know who they are. Now, you might be one of those people to say, well, I don't want to do all that. That feels like it's dramatic. Guess what? When you have an audience of one or an audience of 1,000, guess what? You are the performer. You're the performer via content. You're the performer via visual arts. You are. While you may not go melodramatic, all Hollywood, you do want to bring context and texture. Some of the best engagers are the best engagers because they're profound storytellers. You can listen to them tell stories all day long.
You know, Lisa, that's so intriguing because I've seen you speak maybe 10 or 15 times. And I remember that character of your grandma.
Yes.
And I'm realizing now as you're mentioning what you did, that I can recall in detail key stories
Yes.
from speeches even 5 years ago with this character of your grandmother, who is a real person whom I've actually met, incredible woman, but it just clicked It is really, really, really powerful. And I'm beginning to see what you're doing.
So it's like this secret technique that now Vishen is figuring out that I did to him years ago. And that is, I can earn your respect via content. You can earn your listeners' respect, your audience's respect via content. But they fall in love with you and they remember you from your stories. Most speakers won't ever think to give the gift of stories. And when I say the gift of stories, it's not just the gift to their audience, it's also the gift to themselves, because that's what makes you memorable. As a matter of fact, a great story told well enough, it doesn't make you memorable, it makes you freaking unforgettable. And you want to be unforgettable, especially in this crowded world of online, social media, brand building, entrepreneur. You want to be the one that people remember. And just like you remember my grandmother, people will remember you through your stories. They'll follow you because of your stories. They'll respect you because of your intellect. How about you have both? How about you get people to follow you, love you, respect you, and have loyalty from you, and tell a friend or two about you? That will only occur when you share with them not only what you know, but also your stories, because your stories share with them who you really are. It gives context and texture. See, when I was 6 years old, I always wanted to be an entertainer. I would stand in front of my grandmother and I would give my best entertainment. When I turned 24, I began to write speeches, and I would take a speech and I would write it about 2-3 minute speech, and I'd stand in front of my grandmother and I'd share my speech with my grandmother, and I'd move with my speech. And as I would share my speech, my grandmother would go, And whenever she went, I knew she really liked that part. So I'd pull out my little yellow highlighter and I'd highlight that part. And I'd finish the speech and I'd stand there and my grandmother would clap. And I'd give my grandmother the speech. She'd put it in this little black folder titled Lisa's Speeches. And I said, Grandma, one day I'm gonna be a motivational speaker. And my grandmother, I would go back to my grandmother's house about a month later and I'd read another speech to her. And she'd go, whenever she heard something she liked. And I'd highlight that part. And then I'd give her to her. She'd put it in the folder. Every month, I'd go to my grandmother's house. I'd deliver the speech. She'd go, I'd highlight. She'd put it in the folder. Month after month, I'd speak. She'd, I'd highlight. We put it in the folder. Then after like 9 months of doing this, she said, baby, now what is it that you said you wanted to be? Because she had never heard of a motivational speaker before. I said, a motivational speaker, Grandma. She said, no, what do they do again? I said, they motivate people. She goes, how many people? I said, millions, Grandma. She said, well, who else have you shared these speeches with? I said, just me and you, Grandma. She said, well, baby, if you want to be a motivational speaker and you want to motivate millions, you might want to share your speeches with somebody other than Grandma. And that was when I realized I needed to let my dream out. I needed to go trust people other than my grandma with my speech. So that was a story that I just gave you. A nugget.
I see what you're doing there. And again, you brought in Grandma.
Yes.
Did you notice how her voice changed?
Yes.
I also noticed you were doing something with your hands.
Yes.
When you spoke about her putting the speech in a black folder. Now, why was that? Why did you mention that the folder was black? Why did you do that thing with your hand? Why did you change your voice?
Oh my God, I love this. I love the fact that you would ask that, because a story isn't told. A story is a show me story. Don't tell me the story. Show me the story. Show me the folder. Show me you reading. Show me you highlighting. After a while, you don't even say Grandma went, You just can go, Like when you begin to show, all of a sudden I'm looking at an oral movie. Now, when you can do that, that's game changer. All of a sudden, you captivate your audience. No one's checking Facebook. No one's texting. No one's looking down. They're all riveted by your story because they don't want to miss one visual moment of your oral story. Absolutely powerful. Absolutely game changer. It takes you to the next level and puts you at a place as a speaker, as an orator, where very few people live. And it's just a skill set. It's not, most people look at me, and while I'm a gifted speaker, I was born to speak, I was doing it at 5. While I'm a gifted speaker, it's a skill set that you can hone and learn and master like any other skill set, literally. And so what I did in that moment was I went from telling you to showing you. Now, when you first begin, you have to set the parameters. Remember, like I mentioned before, what season are we in? What's the climate? What city are we in? So that's what I did initially. And then I began to tell you less and show you more. When you do that, all of a sudden, I know grandma. Your listeners know grandma. When you tell a story, people begin to know your characters. It was best demonstrated when we were in A-Fest in Hawaii. I've talked about my grandmother so much, and I brought my grandmother into the conversation, and I became my grandmother on stage so much that people believe they know grandma. So when we were at A-Fest, I said, my grandma's gonna be outside. She came with me. I said, my grandmother's gonna be outside. You can go over to her and chat with if you like, and I'll be outside signing my new book. Right? Later in our suite, my grandmother says, baby, I know you're really popular. And I think people even call you famous. But at this particular event, I think grandma was a little more popular than you. I don't know if you noticed, but my line was longer than your line. And I loved it. So many people were already in relationship with her. So many people came up to me and said, thank you for sharing your grandmother with me. I don't have a grandma in my life. Thank you so much. That happens as well with children. It happens as well with resiliency. It happens as well with perseverance. When you share your story, all of a sudden the listener becomes a part of your journey. And then what happens is you tap into something in them. You tap into a void, or you tap into a confirmation. You either feel something that they needed, or you give them an affirmation or a confirmation that they've been waiting on. Either way, it's a gift. And what they give you back as a result of that gift is loyalty. You know, so often I find myself looking at my life today, and I run a multi-million-dollar business, and I travel the world, and I touch about 30 million people a year on all the platforms that I operate on. But I wasn't always that way. I wasn't always the woman I am today. I didn't always have the confidence I had. There was a time in 1994 when I felt broke and broken. And I used 1994 as a staple because that was the year my son was born. And I remember when my son was born, I said, I do not want this child to have the life that I'm living right now. I don't want it. See, in 1994, I had to get on government assistance to have my son. I needed help to feed him. I needed help to clothe him. I wasn't able to take care of him. I had been productive, but somewhere along the line, I hit a wall. I don't even know when I hit the wall. I don't know when I stopped driving and thriving and just start surviving. And because I was pretty smart, I can get by playing at 50%. I don't know if you know about that, but I can get by. And I played at 50% so long that 50% had become my 100%. And in 1995, my son was about 8 months old, and I ran out of Pampers. And I hit rock bottom because I couldn't even buy him Pampers. And I tell this story often because, not for lack of other stories, but because I finally felt what rock bottom felt like. And I don't know if you've ever been here, but when I hit rock bottom and I could literally feel, I felt like I could feel the ground on my back. Two things happened. One, I said, never here again. And two, I wasn't afraid of what can happen to me from that point. All I could do was get up. And people often ask me, I was interviewed 155 times in a 5-month period. And the number one question was, what did you do? Well, I would be remiss and I would be a lie if I didn't tell you that what I did to change my life was I got real clear what rock bottom felt like. I got real clear what misery felt like. I wasn't seeking it. I didn't look for it, and you don't have to get it. But when I was there, I didn't sugarcoat it. I didn't try to lie about it. I didn't try to dance around it. I didn't try to out-navigate it. I just said, this is the place I won't be anymore. And then from that place, I began to reinvent Lisa. And I didn't reinvent her one time. I reinvented her 1,000 times. I just did it to you again. I took you on a story. So when you're sharing content and you're teaching people how to do things, how to think a particular way, how to go a particular place, how to do a particular system, you actually, when you tell a story, it's like a very entertaining, or what I like to call edutaining, intermission.
Wait, that was brilliant. I actually was almost tearing up, even though I know your story. I've heard that countless times about you wrapping your baby in a towel because you couldn't afford Pampers.
What's amazing is that I didn't tell you the towel this time.
You didn't mention the towel, but
You remembered.
I remember. And what I noticed you did different was rock bottom. That was so beautiful. Don't make me tear up in the middle of my damn masterclass, Lisa.
No, it's
now
gonna happen.
I gotta focus again.
I'm gonna do the juju on you every time.
Tissue. But that was powerful. You saw what happened over there. You even like right now, my voice is different because you brought out emotions within me. That was amazing.
Right. So
But guys, I want to state one thing. That is real. That is actually Lisa's story. In no way are we saying make stuff up.
No. You don't have to make anything up. Trust me when I believe. Trust me when I say your real life has enough drama in it. You have enough drama to have the most colorful. I always tell people, you don't have to make up things. The truth is so sexy. I mean, it's sexy. The truth is full of color, it's full of love, it's full of drama, it's full of chaos, it's full of breakthroughs, it's full of breakdown, it's full of resiliency, it's full of unstoppable moments, it's full of non-negotiable moments. You just haven't identified them yet because you haven't had to. So they don't look today like a story. They look like an incident. It looks like a moment. It looks like a time when your faith was challenged. It looks like a time when you had to say something you thought you'd never say, do something you thought you would never do so that you can get something that you always wanted to get, or you can be the man or the woman you always have known yourself to be. Or you had to fight for something. You had to fight for your life, fight for your dignity, fight for your perseverance, fight for your voice, fight for your freedom, fight for your life. At 19, I had this montage of memories. I was in the shower and I just stepped out the shower and I started to dry my body, and all of a sudden I began to remember something, and I went through this series of thoughts that I did not invite into my mind. All of a sudden I remembered someone else in my space, someone else in my zone. I remembered the day that I was touched inappropriately. I was molested when I was 5. I didn't invite that thought in. I didn't invite that picture in. Where did it come from? Why did it come now? It wasn't so much the memory that rocked my world. It was the way I felt after the memory. It was the dirty. It was the slime. It was the betrayal. It was the anger. I had never tapped into an anger like that. I could feel I can feel something boiling in my body. I can feel the hair on the back of my neck stand up. I can feel this venom running through my body. I can feel myself wanting to hunt this person down. And I didn't even know his name. All of a sudden, what followed that was a sense of sadness that intruded me. It came into my body. All of a sudden, it came into my heart. I felt what dark felt like. Dark in my heart? No. I have a beautiful mom. I have a beautiful dad. I have a beautiful brother. I got an amazing family. What the hell did this darkness come in from? This is not welcome. I went into the medicine cabinet. And I knew my father wouldn't be home for at least 6 hours. I pulled out the extra strength Tylenol. I poured it into my hand, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Would 8 do it? See, I don't want to die. But I don't want to live with this kind of pain. I wasn't sure if 8 would do it. So I got on my knees instead and I cried out to God, God, please, please, if you take this pain away from me, if you bring me back into the light, I'll spend a lifetime helping other people find their light. I promise. I promise. And that was the beginning of this journey called a transformational speaker. True story. Just not told very often until today. Okay, now I need a tissue.
Me too. I never knew that about you. I never knew that Tylenol story. That
I don't share it. So storytelling, you have to be willing to allow people to go into a place that you don't normally let people go into, because when you do, there's a sense of loyalty that they then have for you. That
Triff, could we get tissues, please? Thank you, Matt.
Matt's been waiting.
Yes. Could I get one too? So guys, you see how powerful the storytelling can be. And maybe you felt it too. I know even being the host of this masterclass, I could feel those emotions running through me when Lisa told that story. Amazing stuff.
No matter who you're talking to, if you're talking to a group of businessmen, you're talking to investors, thank you. You're talking to, thank you. It doesn't matter. See, it doesn't, no matter what title people have, before they're an investor, before they're a prospective client, before they're a reader of your book, before they're a man and a woman. And when you give them the gift of a corner of you, and I can go full range, so I don't want to scare you with the depth of the story I chose. I've been doing this for a while. I've mastered the ability to take you in, take you deep, pull you back out. You want to layer this. So let your first stories be stories that aren't necessarily safe, because why play safe when you can play powerful? I may teach you how to do a lot of things, but I won't teach you how to play safe. I'm not interested in you playing safe. I'm interested in you in evoking emotion, pulling up the heart, opening up the space, and letting people in. Because in this day of snail mail, Twitter mail, text mail, email, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, in this day of being connected to everyone, we tend to be connected to no one until you allow someone in through a story.
I wanted to add a point here that I think is very important for the audience to remember.
And you wanted to let me breathe.
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
So I want to share a thought with you here in the audience. Often it's what happens to us in the darkness that help push us into the light so we can let our light shine. Amir Ahmad Nasser, who's another person I've interviewed here on Mindvalley, he's the author of a series of books. He's an activist from Sudan. And he shared a really interesting insight with me, right? So he helps entrepreneurs find their voice. He helps businesses figure out the story on why a business does what it does. And Amir said that a lot of us go through dark moments. We go through abuse. We may go through depression. We may be, in your words, broke and broken. But he says sometimes those moments, even though they were painful, even though they at that time we were not sure how we were going to overcome them, those moments are often gifts from heaven to wake us up to what we are meant to do in the world. Those moments cause us to ask ourselves a question: how can I make sure my son or my daughter never has to go through that again?
Right.
And those moments point us towards our great work or our great business or our mission in life.
I call those gifts that came wrapped in sandpaper. I put that in my book, the gifts that came wrapped in sandpaper.
And if you, here in the audience, if you think about those moments, they may be painful, but there's something that we can learn from them. I know my moments. I wrote about it in my book when I was broke and broken, and I was sleeping on a couch,
yes.
when I had lost my startup and lost all my money, and the only job I could get in Silicon Valley was dialing for dollars because the dot-com bubble had burst.
And you had to rename yourself. You called yourself Vincent.
Right, because I had to call myself Vincent Lakiani so that guys on the phone whom I was selling software to could pronounce my name. I was broke and broken,
yes.
And I discovered meditation as a way to come out of there.
Yes.
I've shared the story of how in 2003 I had to leave the United States because I ended up on a Muslim watch list. And I decided that When I started my company, Mindvalley, I wanted to make sure that unity, that my daughter, Eve, who is half European, half Indian, and therefore looks Syrian or Afghan, would never ever grow up to be on a Muslim watch list.
Right.
Those became my stories.
Right, and you know, when I first came to A-Fest, and you were just building A-Fest, when I walked away from A-Fest, the way that I rallied people to come to A-Fest was not through the content you taught. I told them your story. I told them your story, the people that showed up for some reason years later or months later, and they said, hey, I want to know about this. The ones who came through my tribe, they came because of your story.
Right.
It was your story. I told them about the couch. I told them about the watch list. And I had the passion and the fury with you. I'm like, can you believe? Your story became my story on your behalf. That's how powerful it was.
Right. And the important thing is these stories don't just become a tool for you to deliver a speech that makes an audience fall in love with you. They become breadcrumbs that lead you to your mission.
Absolutely.
I realize from being the victim of so much racism, from being on a watch list, that part of my mission was to help bring together people of different cultures. It's why Mindvalley has 40 different nationalities. It's why Mindvalley University or AFES has 50 different countries represented.
You just did the
The
best.
stories are the breadcrumbs
Yes.
to your mission. So please understand, this is more
Say
than
that
just
again.
making...
That's juicy. Say that again.
Your stories, your darkness are the breadcrumbs to your mission. They help you see your why. They help you understand what is the next piece of art you're going to create, or the next company you're going to found, or the nonprofit you're going to support. They can be the greatest gift you've ever had in your life. It all depends on how you look at them.
Now, you just did the best segue ever to the next piece of information that really talks about what do you need to do to have an audience fall madly in love with you, while a huge part of that is story, huge part. But what you just said, what you just said just made so clear is that stories and your entire message has to be fueled by your conviction. If you want to know what makes you a game-changing presenter, what makes you a game-changing speaker, whether you're speaking to one or a boardroom of 5 or in front of 50 or in front of 5,000, is have a conviction. Be willing to stand for something. Be willing to stand on a conviction. My grandmother says that, baby, your conviction and your convenience won't ever live on the same block. And most people won't hold on to a conviction because they don't want to be inconvenienced. They don't want the chance of someone having an opinion that differs from them, at the chance that the person in the third row might not like their conviction. See, when you're not willing to stand for something, Dr. Martin Luther King says is, if you won't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. What do you stand for? What's your conviction? How do you want to use your voice? You've been given the gift of voice. How will you use it? What are you going to change? And this is a bold question, but what are you going to impact, infect, or change because you were born? What are you going to influence because you're here? Every time you open your mouth, though you may not be on your charge, you may just be hanging out, still inside every space, who you are, my grandmother says, who you be. And I know that's not grammatically correct, but when my grandmother says who you be, that means what you do when you're not talking, what you say when you're not speaking, what's the cause that pours from your skin, that when you sweat, your conviction comes out of your skin. What is that thing? What do you stand for? What I stand for is melting walls and building bridges. What I stand for is people owning their voice, even if it's just a whisper right now. Own your whisper until it gets stronger. And then stand for that thing that matters for you. And you don't have to stand for it like Nelson Mandela or Mahatma Gandhi or Martin Luther King or Cesar Chavez. You don't have to stand for it like that, but stand for it the way you would stand for it. You don't have to do it the way Vishen would do it or the way I'm doing it. There's no measure to it. There's no measure to the value you bring to the world. One of the most important people on the planet that you'll never meet is my grandmother. One of the most important people on the planet that you may not ever meet is my grandmother, because in her quiet time, she pours into me. She doesn't have to do anything else. And so don't measure. Benjamin Franklin says that comparison is and will always be the thief of all joy. Don't measure your conviction to someone else's conviction. But if you want to be memorable, you want to be unforgettable, you want people to fall madly in love with you, make a stand. Because at the very least, they'll admire you. They may not agree with your stand. I appreciate people, even if I don't agree with them, I appreciate that they know their stand. They know their conviction. So when you want to make an impression as a speaker, as an orator, as a businesswoman, as a mother, as a father, as a friend, live inside your conviction and then gift your conviction to us. Allow us to see it. No. More importantly, allow us to feel it. I don't want to just hear about your conviction. I want to feel it. I want it to be palatable. I want the tingles in my finger to occur because you just start speaking. I want the tingles in my finger to occur because I saw the way you love the perceivingly unlovable, the way you were willing to forgive the perceivingly unforgivable. So number one, and being unforgettable, having people fall madly in love with you, is to be willing to share your story. And inside of that is so much. There's so much inside of that. I don't have time to share all of it with you here because there's so many techniques to sharing a powerful story. And I literally can break them all down to you. I don't have time to do it right now, but you have to know that in whole, the story, the transparency, the conviction, and the risk. Be willing to give your audience that, and you've given them something that most people won't ever give them, and they'll give you back something, their heart, their loyalty. They will search for you. When I was on Oprah in 2007, literally, I was on Oprah with 5 masters. I mean, masters. Everyone had been in The Secret, and the people on the stage that hadn't been in The Secret, one directed The Secret, and the other was Oprah. And I was the youngest person. Everyone was brilliant. I'm just sitting, like literally in the green room, I'm going, okay, we're gonna get through this real good. Literally, I was the peon. With all due respect, I was the peon, I was the newbie. Well, something happened, and I didn't plan it, but I shared my story. Everyone else shared great intellect, great points, really great intellect. But I shared my story. Within 72 hours of being on Oprah, without my website even being listed. Matter of fact, someone else owned LisaNichols.com. I didn't even own LisaNichols.com. You couldn't even find me if you did LisaNichols.com. But within 72 hours, without sharing my website, I received 9,782 emails because of my story. A friend of mine who was on the show, I won't say his name, he still says to this day, I will never go on national media with you again. I don't know. You might want to bring your story if you do. And so listen, you have no idea the doors that your story will open up. Now, I know, especially after watching this webinar, especially after watching this show, that you feel like stories are a big risk. They take you into a private place. Or you think you have to have a dark part in your life in order to tell a story. Well, Lisa, Vision, I didn't have that. I didn't sleep on the couch. I didn't have to wrap my child in a towel. So can I tell my story? Yes. Tell a time in your life when you had doubt. It could be doubt about passing a test, because when you share a time that you had doubt, everyone listening taps into their doubt. So you don't have to have had a dark past, though I think all of us have walked through that period. You just got to be willing to share a moment when things weren't so great and you needed to walk through that space. And don't walk us through so fast. Don't say, oh, life wasn't great, but then I got better. No, show me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Show me the 8 pills in your hand, or whatever your story is. Here's what I know. What I know is that an audience of 1 or an audience of 1,000, they're looking for connection. And when you're speaking to 500 people, you're not speaking to 500 people. When you're speaking to 40 people, you're not speaking to 40 people. When you're speaking to 10 people, you're not speaking to 10 people. You're speaking to one person in 10 chairs. You're speaking to one person in 500 chairs. And that person came to be inspired. I don't care what the topic is. They came to be inspired. And inspiration comes through content, but that's more so information. Inspiration comes through stories of forgiveness, perseverance, resiliency, love, being knocked down and getting back up, finding your way after losing your way. Inspiration comes when you had to climb over something, under something, around something, or break through something. That's when inspiration comes. We all love the hero's journey. Every single one of us loves the hero's journey. We see it on television. I mean, Rocky, 9, 10, 15? He gets beat up, but you know he's gonna get up, and we always do it. Get up, Rocky, get up, Rocky. Because Rocky represents us. Get up, Lisa, get up, Vishen, get up, Diana, get up, John. It represents our children. It represents our mother and our fathers. We wanna know that our lives, no matter what occurs, will be all right. So no matter what your message is, no matter who you're speaking to, no matter how many people are in your audience or your boardroom or in your living room couch, the gift you give them that will make you freaking unforgettable and help them to fall madly in love with you is the gift of inspiration. And what I love about inspiration is that no matter how big your life is or your body is, you're never too big for inspiration. No matter how tall you get, you never outgrow inspiration. No matter how successful you become, you never no longer need inspiration. I said it like that. You always need inspiration. No matter how low you are and how dark it might be, you can always use a bit of light called inspiration. Inspiration is that jacket, that shirt, that pair of pants, those shoes that will always fit your audience. And when you give it to them through story, you give them several things. You give them inspiration, and you give them connection, and you give them trust. As a result back, they'll give you love, they'll give you loyalty, and they'll give you word of mouth. They'll tell someone about you. So inside of a story, you get it all. Now make sure when you share the story and you take me into your valley, that you make sure you bring me out. Don't take me to your valley and then drop me there. Take me to your valley and bring me out. But don't take me through your valley too fast. No, slow down, stop, hit the speed bump, feel the speed bump. Let me feel the speed bump. Let me put my seatbelt on and then take me back out. Give me the gift of the journey, and I'll give you the gift of my loyalty.
Oh, that's beautiful, Lisa. Thank you so much. I know there are so many different levels of storytelling.
Yes.
You've shared with me a couple of techniques which I've applied on stage and have had a dramatic impact on my resonance with an audience, including your technique of the valley. But there's so much more, of course, to making an audience fall in love with you.
There are about 15 to 17 different techniques.
Okay, so what you just shared, story, that's one of 15 techniques.
One of 15.
And within each of these pillars of making an audience fall in love with you, there are different tools and techniques that you can apply.
You can apply each technique independent of the other. They're like Legos. You can just use this one technique and see instant impact. You can use this one technique and see instant impact and up level. But when you put them all together, you layer them like a great lasagna, all of a sudden you're explosive. But you can learn one and apply it. You can learn another and apply it. And you can learn them and master them independent and then begin to use them interdependently.
And that is then you get on stage and it becomes a freaking art form. And I, through Mindvalley,
Can I just say this? When you layer them, you begin to have a different challenge. It's managing the inflow. You begin, if you got to pick your problems, you want to have this problem. But when you begin to layer it and you create that synergistic fire, because now you're layering the techniques and something just shifts and changes in your audience and in you don't even know about it, all of a sudden your biggest challenge becomes managing the influx, managing the programs that people want, managing the requests for you, managing the demand on your life. Quality problem, but your problems do shift.
So I want to share with you why learning these techniques are so important, right? Just two quick things. A lot of us forget just how powerful our impact can be when we get on stage. And a lot of us think, my God, getting on stage is so hard. But if you look at the world today, there are so many opportunities. There's almost this thing erupting in human consciousness where we want to gather as a tribe and learn from someone.
Yes.
You see TEDx talks happening all around the world. Even in Kuala Lumpur, where we have Mindvalley HQ, we've had to open up our office because there are so many groups of designers,
Yes.
programmers who want to come and
Yes.
give talks,
Yes.
even technical talks. And it is so easy to find an audience. The question and what becomes difficult is being able to connect with that audience in a profound way. But when you can, remarkable doors can open. A-Fest came to me because I was put on stage in Washington, D.C., and I happened to accidentally, I didn't know what I was doing then, but now after studying with you, I know what I did.
Yeah.
I accidentally got an audience to connect with me. And at the end of my speech, I said, hey guys, if you enjoyed me for an hour, would you like to come hang out with me in Costa Rica for 3 days and learn, I don't know, you tell me what you want to learn and I'll bring in the speakers. Next thing I know, A-Fest had gotten founded in a hotel in Washington, D.C. Another story, I got my book offer, not because I was going out to publishers and looking for a book offer, but because I was invited to give a speech in somewhere in Florida at a small little event of 100 people, an event with doctors. And in that audience was an editor from Rodale Publishing. And I ended up getting a 6-figure offer to write a book, which was complete around 15 months later, all because I happened to be on stage. So whether you are a lawyer or a doctor or you're running for student body or you're a professional athlete and you have to give a media interview or you're simply going on Facebook Live,
Right.
if you can learn how to
Right.
connect with people, you are adding rocket fuel to your career. You're adding these super boosters to that spaceship of you, which is about to take off. And that's why this program that we're creating with Lisa is really, really, really interesting. I didn't do this. I didn't want to work with Lisa Nichols initially because I wanted Mindvalley to produce the world's #1 public speaking program. I wanted to work with Lisa Nichols because I could see how getting on stage could magnify my impact in the world.
One to many.
Right, one to many. And I wanted to be able to fine-tune that as best as I
Yes,
could,
yes.
right? But something funny happened, Lisa. And so a little backstory. I've been getting tips and advice from Lisa for almost 7 years now. Lisa has never missed an A-Fest. And so every A-Fest, I'll learn a little nugget from her and I'll fine-tune my abilities on stage. But as you know, in Mindvalley, we have this goal-setting methodology, right, called the 3 most important questions. A lot of you guys have done the 3 most important questions. And every new hire who joins Mindvalley does their 3 most important questions. So I was going through several hundred 3MIQs, as we call them, looking at all my employees and the experiences they want, their bucket list for experiences, for growth, for contribution, and I noticed a pattern. The pattern was one of the most singularly most common things that people wanted was to be a public speaker. I would see phrases such as, I want to experience giving a TEDx talk, or I want to speak in front of 1,000 people, or I want to have the confidence to stand on stage and deliver a speech, or I want to have a massive following on Facebook or Instagram, right? All of these had to do with speaking. Yes. And so I thought, how can I help serve my tribe by teaching them public speaking? And I knew you were the best teacher out there. But then I thought, well, we're going to work with Lisa. Why don't we do something bigger? Why don't we create the world's #1 course on owning the stage, the world's #1 course to transform people into public speaking? And so over the last 2 years, we've been brainstorming with Lisa, we've been putting these ideas together, and in the last couple of months, Mindvalley happened to release its Quest platform. And so we're now building this course on Quest. Now, Lisa, you spoke about lasagna, right?
Yes.
And that analogy. Here's what makes this really interesting. The program that we're putting together, to make it the world's #1 public speaking course, we had to rethink how online learning works. You're not going to sit down and try to digest all this information over 8 hours. Rather, you're going to join a quest, a really interesting interactive quest with almost 2,000 students globally from 50 countries starting together and being coached by Lisa. It's going to start on day 1, and all the information, by the way, is below this video. You can see the information on the quest, the start date, the enrollment information, but everyone starts together on day 1. And every day, for no more than 20 minutes, on your smartphone or your tablet or your computer, on your Mindvalley account, Lisa will come on and teach you one specific layer. Then you'll practice. You'll go into the community that day and record a little video of yourself. or watch someone else's video and critique them. And it takes a little bit of guts to do that, but ease your way into it. But every single day for 30 days, what's going to happen is we're going to teach you one technique, and one technique, and one technique, and one technique. And these pillars are going to line up, and you're going to go deep. You're not just going to learn about the concept of storytelling, you're going to learn specific techniques to really be a masterful storyteller. And what you're going to find is this: no, we're not just preparing you to get on stage and rock it. We're preparing you to be a better CEO, to be a better doctor, to be a better lover, to be a better kindergarten teacher, to be a better nurse, to be a better engineer. Because no matter what you're doing in the world today, you are going to have to communicate with people. You're going to have to make your ideas heard. And what you are gaining over here is a massive boost to your entire presence as a human being, because once you learn these skills, everything changes. So what you have is one of the world's greatest teachers, and probably the world's greatest learning platform, Mindvalley Quest, that was just recently launched, and our entire Mindvalley team of curriculum designers that are putting together what we have set a goal to be the #1 public speaking program on the planet. And if you look at the cost of this, it is so affordable because we want to get this out to hundreds of thousands of people.
Super exciting when I look at all the people. Like, I've run into hundreds of thousands of people in Croatia, Slovenia, and South Africa, and the Caribbeans and the British Virgin Islands. And you're right, just like the Mindvalley team, they say, I want to harness my speaking ability. And these people are doctors, they're counselors, they're parents. They're not people who want to be staged. You don't have to want to be a platform speaker. Like, this is platform speaking. But speaking is required by in everything you do. And what I love about this course is that I teach you things like how to master the art of enrollment. If you're a parent, you just want to master the art of enrollment, right? If you have a husband or a wife, you want to master the art of enrollment. How to own your voice. See, so many times we haven't really owned our voice yet. And then understand how to speak to inspire, not to impress. How to take people into a valley and bring them back out into a light. Like, I love when we created this course, when I created this course and the content in it, I thought, what could take someone the furthest no matter what? No matter what business they were in, no matter where they lived in the world, no matter their culture, no matter their religion, what can help take them the furthest? And what I really appreciate about this course is a lot of it I taught from what I needed as a woman, what I needed as a daughter. How did I need to have conversations with my parents that were uncomfortable, but I didn't know how to have them, which is why I'm really adamant about the part in the course that talks about how to have carefrontation instead of confrontation. Like, that to me is relationship saving. Like, if you're in a relationship with someone that you love and you want to stay in that relationship, then you better learn carefrontation real fast and replace confrontation with carefrontation. No one teaches that.
And you discussed this in the program in one of
I
the
go
days.
in depth.
Right.
One of the classes is just focused on how do you replace confrontation with carefrontation. That's worth the price of admission by itself. That's worth the price of admission by itself. And then how to have conversations, not performances, so that you come across authentic every single time. Because even though you might feel you're being authentic, if the people that are listening to you don't, then your truth doesn't matter, because their perception of you is really their truth. How do you show up as authentic every single time? Like, I talked about the things that I struggled with. So I first built on the things that I needed help with, because I figure if I needed that help, then you might can use that support. And so I first coach the modules, and not the longest module is 19 minutes and like 42 seconds. Like, that's the longest course. So it's tight. It's like a shot of B12. It's a shot of energy. It's a shot of content. And then each day I have you just take off one layer of every day I have you put in one more layer of action, small action. Well, some days it's kind of big. But at the end of 30 days, what I love is that if you choose, and it has to be your choice, If you choose to be active every single day, and if you choose every day, and there's some rest days, there's some days where you have nothing to do but reflect and just kind of marinate on the stuff that we did the day before. But on the days that I give you something to do, if you choose to take action and do the self-work every day for 30 days, there's no way, I say this, there is no way in 30 days that you can be the same person you were at the beginning of the journey. There's no way.
This is a complete makeover for yourself
There's
in 30
no way.
days.
There's no way.
In 30 days. Because every day, so a couple of important things about Quest. Now, some of you are new to Quest. You're used to traditional old school online learning or universities where you sit for a 1 hour
Forever
lecture
and ever
or you buy
and ever
an
and
8-hour
ever.
course and then you never complete it. What makes Quest different is this. As Lisa said, micro-learning. We found that if you cut up the content into 20 minutes a day and you work it on layers so that every day you just ingest 20 minutes and you can play it on your smartphone, you can listen to the audio while you're driving. We all have 20 minutes a day. We find that most people are able to get through the entire thing 30 days straight.
Yes.
30 days straight, right? And if you miss a day, just catch up the next day. 20 minutes is easily doable. But the second thing is, it starts on a particular day. If you don't join before this starts, you wait another year. The reason we have it start on a particular day is because there's extreme power in 2,000 people starting together, being part of an online community together,
Yes.
and supporting each other. And you will be so inspired as you see people transform in this community. You can take a video of yourself, put it up there and have people critique you on a particular technique or praise you or tell you how to refine it. Everyone in a Quest becomes not just a student, but a teacher and a mentor and a coach to each other. We are all doing this together. So number one, micro-learning. Number two, community. Number three, we all start together. We will go through this together and we will cross that finishing line together.
And can I tell you why that's so valuable? Because I love my life today, but if there are some things that I could tweak, and I don't take back anything that I've experienced, but I wish I would have done it with a tribe. I wish I would have had community. I wish I would have had people walking the journey with me at that same pace with me, watching me grow while I watch them grow, cheering each other on. One of the things I love about Quest the most is that tribe impact. Right. And teaching the content, the self-work that I give you, the self-work or the homework that I give you, some of it's just about supporting each other. So you'll see these bursts of moments when everyone's loving on you because that was their homework and you're loving on them. And when you get a circular energy where everyone's giving love, it becomes like this spontaneous combustion of possibility. What better space to live in? And I'm so grateful to it because I didn't have that. So I love the concept. I love how we've taken our time to put together an experience. Right. And I think you give and you teach and you serve not only from what you want, but also from what you needed. And I needed this. I needed a tribe like this, so I'm grateful.
And a great thing about this program is also we layer behavioral change psychology in it. Now what this means is that in 30 days, you transform. When you take an online course, there's no clear, there's no guarantee that you're going to transform. We zone in, we zone out, we rarely finish it, but this one is layered over 30 days because every day, if you listen to this 20-minute audio and you do the thought process, you start adding new dimensions to yourself. At the end of 30 days, you are a radically new person. And the next time you go to your boss to ask for that raise, the next time you're in a business meeting and you're trying to present your idea, the next time you see someone attractive in a bar and you want to just approach him or her, you're communicating in a radically different way. You see, you think this is about public speaking. It isn't. This is so much more. This is about magnifying your interface with the rest of humanity.
It's the ultimate connector. See, the distance between you and everything you want and need is communication. That's the distance between you and everything. All things start with how you communicate. All things end with how you communicate it. And so this is that game changer tool that puts something in your back pocket that you didn't have before. And you can pull it out for a prospective consumer. You can pull it out for a friend. You can pull it out for your children. You can pull it out for him or her. You pull it out whenever you need it, because now you have it.
And the biggest reason Mindvalley is investing so much in this program is because, as you know, our Mindvalley community is not just about personal growth. It's about personal growth with a mission. It's about personal growth and then using these finely tuned brains and these happy bodies and then using these finely tuned brains and spirits and these healthy bodies to go out there in the world and make a difference and push humanity forward. And the ability to speak and persuade and rally a crowd around your vision is crucial for that. We've seen situations in the world in the past 1 year where people with dangerous visions have rallied crowds. Where people with crazy ideas have caused us to deny things like climate change. What if good people, people like you, people in our Mindvalley community could learn these tools, could gain this power to go out there and change government, to go out there and move and inspire the big corporations they work for to take on more sustainable practices.
The educational
could go
system.
out there and speak for the truth, could go out there and change the educational system. This unleashes your superpowers for good. And this is why this program is so important to me.
I love it. Unleashes your superpowers for good. What I love about this program is that what's one person's gift can be another person's skill set. You know, Michael Jordan, basketball player, he got cut from the basketball team. And he was given the role of the manager of the basketball team. All he could do was gather basketballs. And then he began to learn the skill set. And he became Michael Jordan. I believe we all have our Michael Jordan in us. I believe we all have that superpower, that super thing we've been designed to do. I believe that the distance between us and it sometimes, the distance between us and the people who can help get us there is our communications or our presence. So I'm honored. I'm honored to bring forth something that I know is going to transform someone's life. It might be yours. It might be your friends. It might be your child's. I know that when you're able to harness your power, stand in your conviction, and deliver a message that can make you unforgettable and help people to fall madly in love with you, all of a sudden we don't walk this journey by ourselves as much. I know the number one thing that people feel, even in a group of others, is alone. I've heard it 100, 1,000 times, is that even around people I feel alone. Well, I know the connector, the number one connector, is communication. It's voice. And so allow me to give you the gift of connection. It'll come in a package in a program, 30 days. It'll have a process. It'll be somewhere between 5 and 20 minutes a day. It'll have a structure. It'll require you to invest. But at the end of the day, it's the gift of ultimate connection. And then you write us back and tell us what happened when you played full out. Write us back and tell us how life looks different 6 months down the line, a year down the line, how all of a sudden you've harnessed this ability to create this divine connection, divinely inspired connection with people all over the world or right in your house. Allow me to do that for you. Allow us to do that for you.
Thank you, Lisa. So let's get you off the sidelines and into the court. And just a final, all the information is below this video. Scroll down, read about the program. You can enroll. You'll see a start date. You should enroll before the start date because, as I said, the power happens when we all start together. And as a special thank you for investing this last hour, tuning into me and Lisa, there's a special unlock discount, a further discount that is available on this page. You already get a discount for enrolling before the closing date, but we'll give you a further discount for enrolling on this page. So do not close this page because you will not be able to get back to that particular discount code unless you replay this entire webinar. And one more thing, because it's so important here at Mindvalley to ensure that you have the best possible experience as a student and that you know you're safe. You can enroll in this program, experience the entire program for 10 days, and if you feel it isn't for you, with one email to us, support@mindvalley.com. Our award-winning customer support team is happy to give you a full refund. Try it out for 10 days. You have nothing to lose. You don't even have to make up your mind right now. Just try it out for 10 days. And if this program, in any way, you feel this isn't one of the greatest investments you've ever made in yourself, one email, get a full refund. I'm confident because I know the quality and the work that we put into this and how amazing a teacher Lisa is, that many of you are going to be so transformed in 10 days that you'll want to stay on for the full 30. But even if you can't or can't afford to, that's cool. Get a full refund. But try it out. You have nothing to lose, but your entire future to gain. This Quest, the technology has been significantly upgraded. You can now get it on iPhone, on Google Play, but also on iPad, and you can also access it on your desktop on Mindvalley Home. But that's not all. It now also links with Apple Watch. So all of these new technologies come together. We're really, really excited about where this platform is going.
I'm excited. So
I'm excited to have you in this program.
Bones.
So thank you for enrolling. We look forward to seeing you in this program. So here's what happens next. The Quest starts on a specific date. The date is below. Before the Quest begins, make sure you download the app. And as soon as you log in, the app will recognize you and you'll be able to see the program available on your Quest app. We've prepared some warm-up content for you. Watch this warm-up content before the Quest starts. Lisa will tell you how to get ready, how to prepare, what to expect, and then get ready to start with thousands of other people on the start date. Thank you. Anything to add, Lisa?
No, I think that, one of the things I realize is that when you get ready to do something like this, start with what you expect to get out of it. Start with what you want so that you know when you got it. So be bold enough for yourself. Make a list of here's a major win from me, and I guarantee you we'll deliver.
Awesome. I'll see you guys there.
See you in Quest.
I would say Lisa Nichols.
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 Lisa Nichols. Walking into that room with Lisa Nichols yesterday was just amazing. I have never had someone move an audience so quickly in an instant.
She touches people's heart space.
I just about cried when Lisa Nichols was talking.
Lisa is one that strikes you.
I didn't expect what Lisa Nichols will be about.
Lisa Nichols was completely amazing.
It was a real learning experience.
It really blew my mind.
Part of what she talks about is everybody has a story.
There's a voice that sometimes tells me no, when I should be saying yes, yes.
I'm here and I've got a message and there's a purpose.
She showed me how to be more effective.
To be responsible, it's a powerful thing. It's not scary.
It's like every word that I would hear was just like, yes.
It just was profound.
But it moved me greater, deeper to take those steps, one step at a time, she said.
The more that I listened to her, the more my purpose kept coming and here I am.
Lisa's one that changes how you actually think.
Like her words came out and everything landed.
Lisa Nichols eventually helped me discover the entrepreneur in me.
She knows how to get me off the ground.
And she's the most dynamic, impactful speaker that I have ever heard.
I think the best in the world.
But it really is heartfelt what she comes at.
She's just like amazing.
She had a huge impact on me.
It's helped me in like all areas of my life.
Personally, it's also given me an opportunity to be a better communicator.
I was able to start really speaking from this place of vulnerability.
Thanks, Vision, because what Lisa into my life, I actually think that that's a great thing.
I found my personal coach right there.